Imagine you're in the cockpit, descending through thick fog. Outside the window, there's nothing but grey. No runway lights, no horizon, no ground. Yet the plane continues its descent, aiming for a runway you cannot see. This is the promise of the Instrument Landing System, or ILS.
This is Wings and Wrecks. How machines fail, and what saves the people inside them.
But here's the catch. Autoland doesn't mean the pilots can sit back and relax. Even in the most advanced aircraft, the crew must monitor every parameter, ready to take over in seconds. The Boeing 777 Flight Crew Training Manual states that in zero visibility, the pilot's role shifts from manual flying to system management and decision-making. So the common belief that planes can land themselves in zero visibility is only half true. The technology exists, but it demands rigorous training, certified equipment, and human oversight. In this video, we'll explore how pilots navigate the invisible highway of radio signals, and why even the most advanced systems still depend on the people in the cockpit. So how does a pilot find the runway when fog swallows the world? The answer begins with an invisible highway of radio waves, first demonstrated in 1929 by a young aviator named Jimmy Doolittle. He climbed into a cockpit with a hooded canopy, relying solely on instruments to guide his plane down, and he landed blind. That invisible highway is the Instrument Landing System, or ILS. It works by transmitting two radio beams from the runway, one for lateral guidance, the localizer, and one for vertical, the glide slope. The localizer uses 90 and 150 Hz modulations to tell the aircraft if it's left or right of centre. The glide slope does the same for altitude. The cockpit instruments interpret these signals as a crosshair, guiding the pilot down a precise path. As the plane descends, it follows the glide slope at about 3 degrees, an invisible ramp leading straight to the runway threshold. Even in zero visibility, the ILS paints a picture of the approach. Ye see her. But the ILS is not one size fits all. It comes in categories, each demanding lower visibility and decision heights. Category Y requires a decision height of 200 feet and visibility of half a kilometre. Category 2 drops to 100 feet and 300 meters. And Category 3, the pinnacle, allows landings in fog so thick the pilot sees nothing until touchdown. So what exactly separates a routine landing from a zero visibility miracle? The answer lies in 3 categories, each with its own strict limits on decision height and runway visual range. The higher the category, the lower the ceiling, and the greater the demands on crew and equipment. Cat I, the most common, allows the pilot to descend to 200 feet above ground before they must see the runway. If the runway isn't visible at that point, they execute a missed approach. This covers most foggy days, but not the densest. Cat 2 cuts the decision height in half to 100 feet and demands an RVR of just 300 meters. That means the pilot must see the runway only when they are much closer. Specialized training and aircraft equipment are required. And then there is Cat 3, the realm where the decision height drops to 0 and the plane can land in virtually zero visibility. But even here, the pilot must monitor every move. As the Boeing manual states, the role shifts from flying to managing. So what happens when the fog is so thick that even the ILS signals guide the plane down to a decision height of 0? That's when Autoland takes over, a system that can flare, touch down, and roll out without the pilot touching the controls. But here's the catch. It's not fully autonomous. The Boeing 777 Flight Crew Training Manual puts it plainly. In zero visibility, the pilot's role shifts from manual flying to system management and decision-making. The crew must monitor every parameter, speed, descent rate, engine settings, ready to intervene if the system strays. And that monitoring is critical because Autoland requires more than just the aircraft's capability. The airport itself must be certified for Category 3 operations, with redundant ILS transmitters, backup power, and specially trained air traffic controllers. Without that infrastructure, Autoland is useless. Modern aircraft like the Boeing 777 and Airbus A350 are certified for Category 3B Autoland, which allows landings in runway visual range, as low as 50 meters. But even then, the crew must be trained and the equipment faultless. Autoland is a tool, not a replacement. What happens when low visibility meets human error? The 1977 Tenerife disaster proved that fog can turn a routine approach into catastrophe. On that runway, miscommunication between pilot and controllers led to a collision that killed 583 people. So why did the ILS not prevent this? Because the airport lacked ground radar and the crew never received proper clearance. The NTSB later concluded, the accident highlighted the critical need for standard phraseology and low visibility procedures. That means even the most advanced ILS is only as good as the humans using it. Fog doesn't just hide the runway, it hides the mistakes. And that's why crew training and strict procedures are the real backbone of low visibility landings. So what happens when the ILS signal is lost, or the fog is too thick for even CAT? That's when the runway itself must speak to the pilot, through a carefully orchestrated symphony of lights. Approach lights, runway edge lights, and touchdown zone lights form a visual highway that guides the aircraft down to the pavement. The FAA advisory circular on lighting states that approach lights provide the pilot with visual cues to align the aircraft with the runway centerline and to judge the descent angle. In low visibility, these lights are the difference between a safe landing and a missed approach. They are quite literally a lifeline. These lights are not just for show, they are standardized worldwide. Runway edge lights mark the sides, touchdown zone lights illuminate the first 3,000 feet of the runway, and centerline lights guide the aircraft straight. Together, they create a visual corridor that pilots can follow even when the world outside is a wall of white. So what happens when the ILS fails, or the fog is too thick for even the most advanced Autoland? The answer is a cascade of backups, each with its own cost and complexity. Go-arounds, diversions to alternate airports, and, increasingly, enhanced flight vision systems that use infrared cameras to see through the murk. But these backups come at a price. Fog-related delays cost airlines an estimated $3 billion annually. And while CAT, DAIN and zero visibility landing exists on paper, no airport in the world is certified for it. The real backup is human. Rigorous training, strict procedures, and the discipline to go around when conditions exceed limits. But how exactly does the ILS guide the plane? The localizer signal operates on a frequency between 108 and 112 mmHz, while the glide slope uses 329 to 335 mmHz. The aircraft's receivers decode these signals to determine its position relative to the ideal approach path. Yet ILS signals can be disrupted by terrain, buildings, or even other aircraft. That's why airports have critical areas around the localizer and glide slope antennas, where vehicles and planes are prohibited during low visibility operations. Any interference could send false guidance, so the pilot relies on the ILS until reaching decision height. At that point, if the runway is not in sight, they must initiate a missed approach, applying full power, pitching up, and following a pre-planned path to a safe altitude. It's a split-second decision. And that missed approach is not a failure, it's a standard safety procedure. Every approach is flown with a pre-briefed, missed approach plan. The crew knows exactly what to do if the runway doesn't appear. In fact, go-rounds are practiced regularly in simulators. But the key to a safe, low-visibility landing is crew coordination. The pilot flying focuses on the instruments, while the pilot monitoring calls out altitudes and checks for any deviations. This cross-checking catches errors before they become problems. And that training is relentless. Pilots spend hours in simulators practicing low-visibility approaches, engine failures during Autoland, and even dual ILS failures. The goal is to make the response automatic, because when the fog closes in, there's no time to think. So landing blind is never just about technology. It's a partnership between the ILS, the Autoland, the lights, and most of all, the people who train for years to handle the worst. Every foggy approach is a testament to that teamwork. And next time you're on a plane descending into mist, remember, there's a symphony of systems and skill bringing you home. Quick note, this is for education only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research before investing.
Every failure leaves a lesson. Subscribe so you don't miss the next investigation. Our next video.